The ocean life is what I like, it's where I wanna be. Sailing through the rolling waves is the only life for me. I like the sea spray on the face and the beach sand on my feet. And everybody calls me Salty Pete, Salty Pete.
Hi, I'm Salty Pete, and today I'm giving you a review on the Highfield 3.8 Classic Deluxe. I've seen people give reviews on boats, and they're basically brand new boats where they've just driven them around and just said, yeah, handles nice and so forth. This is a practical review after 5 months of fishing, diving, swimming, and basically just having fun. This review is divided into 4 parts. The first part, why did I buy this type of boat? Second part, why did I buy a Highfield boat? Third part, after 5 months of use, what do I like about the Highfield boat? And after 5 months of use, what I don't like about the Highfield boat. I hope this review helps you make a decision when you're buying a boat. So let's get on with it. Well, first of all, why did I buy this type of boat? This type of boat is called a RIB, R-I-B, and it stands for Rigid Inflatable Boat, which means it has a rigid hull and these inflated tubes around the outside. They're also called the four-wheel drive of the seas. Although this boat is only 3.8 metres long, I'd say it was a cross between an SUV and a sports car. RIBs are used by the Army and the Navy and sea rescue, and in fact any application where you need a stable boat in rough seas. I want to use my boat primarily for diving around the many reefs we have here in the Perth area in Western Australia. And around the reefs here we can have rogue waves or freak waves which can come over and can flood and sink a standard boat or capsize a standard boat, but for some strange reason I want a boat that stays on the surface. I've had a 7-metre boat and a 10-metre boat. This is 3.8 metres, and the first time I saw a big wave coming towards me in this RIB, I was waiting for the wave to smash into the side of the boat, but the RIB just rides over the top. Another thing I liked about the Highfield boat is it has an aluminium hull. As I said, I'll be navigating around reefs, and if I do accidentally hit a reef, I would like maybe a scratch on my hull, or in worst scenario a dent, but one thing I don't want is a hole. So if plastic or fiberglass would be out of the question as far as I'm concerned going around reefs. So aluminium hull for me. I also like the idea of the offset console. I could see myself, if I'm out by myself because I'm retired, but I'll go out fishing and that during the week, but I could envisage myself dropping and retrieving crab nets from the side here while I still got control of the boat, and that really appealed to me. So, after 5 months of use, what do I like about the Highfield boat? As I said previously, I bought the Highfield because of the aluminium hull, but I thought it was the same structure as a standard aluminium dinghy. The actual hull is made of 3mm aluminium plate. I thought I might dent it when I hit a reef, but I'd have to go pretty fast to dent a 3mm sheet of aluminium. Also, I don't know what they've coated on here, but it's really hard. I've beached this about 10 times. There's not a scratch on the hull at all. If you can pick up these red marks down here, that's from the rollers on the boat trailer. They're not scratches at all. So yeah, I've beached it about 10 times. There's not a scratch on the hull. Remember how I said that I like the Highfield boat because of the offset console, and then I could grab crabbing nets as I'm driving along by myself because I have full control. While I'm driving, I'm leaning over to get the crabbing nets. Unfortunately, that wasn't very practical because trying to pull up crab nets from a seated position is very difficult to do. You can't get enough power on pulling to try and get the net up, so the crabs would be getting away. But I also found that you could also control the boat from in front of the console. So you've got your speed here, and you've got your steering there, and you can lean over and much easier grab the net and pull it up from this position. I've made myself a harness which connects to me and goes to the other side of the boat so I don't fall in, but still having the offset console, I'm still able to do that. Okay, I'm still on about the offset console. The console itself is supported by an aluminium pipe here, which gives you fantastic legroom. It's not a problem for me because I'm not fantastically big, but for anybody who is tall and wants plenty of legroom, this type of console is fantastic. Plus, being on the offside, it's got plenty of room down the side, so if you want to, as soon as you want to get up from your boat, you just get up and walk to the front. If you had a central console, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to sort of edge around. So getting up the front to get your fishing gear, getting up the front to drop your anchor, it's much easier with the offset console with this configuration. There's a close-up of the console. I think I mentioned a few times. It gives you the extra deck space and access to the side. So I thought I'd just show you a close-up of it and how I've set stuff up on it. That's my marine radio, which I found fits snugly underneath the console, and you can see the aerial. I hope the aerial's in the shot on the other side, and the GPS mounted on the top. GPS is one I used in my kayak, and I've got to get some funds together to get myself a larger GPS, and also I want an echo sounder, so when I'm going diving I can search for some interesting spots. Now the only power that goes into the console are wires for the navigation lights either side of the console. So if you want to, like I install the radio, the wiring, extra wiring is easy to install. It just comes up through this pipe that supports the console, so all your wiring just comes up in there, and this pipe goes right back to the rear of the seat. Of course inside the seat is the battery compartment. So wiring stuff up in there is not really a problem. The steering mechanism takes up a lot of space inside here, so be very careful where you're putting your wiring, and if you're drilling, make sure that you're not drilling into anything that's inside. So basically that's the setup for the console, and we'll move on. Here is the photo of the Highfield 380 deck space. At the bow is the anchor locker with plenty of room for extra ropes, and behind that is the locker for the 25 litre fuel tank. The fuel tank is at the front to balance the weight of the driver. Don't you love all that deck space that you get from the Highfield boat? Especially when you don't have the console on the floor, you've got it suspended, so you've got deck space underneath the console that you can use. So if you're fishing and you're using the front of the boat, you might have an esky or something, you can actually push that under the console where you would normally sit, out of the way while you're fishing, and just push it back when you want to drive the boat again. In my opinion, it's only my opinion, it's better to have a boat with a clear deck that you can put seats into if you want to, bean bags, cushions, things like that, if you want to put seats in your boat. So it's better to put seats in your boat that you can take out when you don't need them, rather than buy a boat that's got all these fancy seats in there that are stuck in there and you can't remove. This is the seat of the 380, and it seats too comfortably. The seat tips back to reveal the battery and the storage space. This photo is of the storage next to the battery. The wiring was supported by sticky back hooks, but they had to be removed to install additional wiring. I've seen quite a few reviews on YouTube on small boats, and they show you all the electrical wiring in a cabinet, and then they'll say, oh look, there's lots of storage space in here as well. But it's not a very good idea to store stuff in front of exposed electrical wiring. When boat manufacturers make a boat, they're trying to give you as much boat as possible for your dollar. So if they start doing, especially on a small boat, they start doing all the little things like covering up all the electrical cables, it's going to put the price of the boat out of the range of a lot of people. And of course Highfield is no exception. They're trying to give me, well, they gave me a boat,
but doesn't have all the little fringes on it that I might find in a multi-million-dollar yacht, because I'm just a few dollars short of buying a multi-million-dollar yacht. If you believe that, you'd believe anything. So it's not a good idea to store anything in a cabinet which has got exposed electric cables. So I'm going to show you a photograph now of the conduiting I did. Where's my piece of conduit? I bought this piece of conduit. This is just a standard electrical conduit. It's rectangular, it's 50 by 25, and this is what a standard electrician would use. A standard electrician, by the way, is an electrician that doesn't own a boat. If they do own a boat, they're awesome electricians. But this has a cover on the front. You stick that on the back of your cabinet, run your electrical cables in there, and then this cover just fits back on the front again and keeps all your wires safe from being caught by things being dragged out of your boat. Now, just another small point as well that I did mention in the earlier part of the video about passing cables or wires up through the tube into the console of the Highfield boat, and I thought afterwards, because thinking, well, one of my brain cells, it must be my turn for my family brain cell. Yeah, I realised that maybe there's a few people around that don't know how to put wires through conduits and tubes and so forth. So I'm going to make a separate video on how to put the wiring up in the tube into the console of the Highfield. That's in case you want to buy a Highfield. But other than that, it's show you some other things and how to get cables up boats, because you've always got to get cables under decks and so forth. So I'll give you some ideas of how to do that. So there we go. So here is a photograph that I did after I conduited all the cables. You might notice too that I took those ugly black catches off the front of the box as well, and I'm just using just the stainless steel latch that I have in the centre of the seat. And here's a photo of the wiring enclosed in the conduit. So, after 5 months of use, what is it I don't like about the Highfield boat? When I say what I don't like about the Highfield boat, I don't know if it's Highfield themselves, or whether there's their agents, or whether people are constructing it under license. I wouldn't have a clue. But I think Highfield should be interested in knowing the final product that's going out with the Highfield name on it. Okay, this is called a rub rail. The idea of that is it should be the outer extremity of the boat, protect any part of the boat from getting hit by, especially when you're coming into jetties and things like that. But unfortunately, this is not the outer extremity of the boat. These handles stick out proud of the rub rail, both at the front and at the rear. More at the rear than the front, actually. This is rather surprising for me when I first took it out, and I'm backing the boat away from a jetty, and all of a sudden, thump, it hits this. I turn around, what the, and it's these handles here stick out past the rub rail. Makes it very difficult when you're coming into a jetty. You look like a complete amateur or just a rank beginner, just holding your boat against the jetty, trying to stop these things from getting caught on the pylons, rather than being able to just come in nice and smoothly like an expert. So they tend to make you look like a dork when you're coming in, and this just shouldn't happen. When I saw this boat at the boat show, it came with a set of oars. This basically boat is designed as a tender, which is a boat which you take from your major yacht onto a beach, and that's what they were first designed for. And the oars are pretty good, because if you get in the water gets too shallow, you can't use your outboard motor because your propeller will drag in the sand. Well, you simply get your oars out and start rowing into the beach. So it's quite a handy little thing to have oars on your boat. But unfortunately, when you own a Highfield and you set the oars up on the rocks, it's right where the console is. It's actually like a joke, isn't it, really? Simpkins, you had one job to do and you fluffed it. So yeah, don't get fooled by seeing a set of oars on a Highfield boat, because you won't be able to use them. Well, look at that, we're back on the console. One thing I don't like is the navigation lights. The navigation lights are either side of the console, and that's quite legal. I've actually checked the laws myself on that. That's no problems at all. But the recommended seating on a rib is around the outside on the tubes. So people sitting in the boat completely obscure the navigation lights. I was coming into a boat ramp, and there were some people waiting on the shore there for us with some fish and chips. And that's the best type of people waiting for you, the ones with the fish and chips. If they're not, don't have fish and chips, don't worry about them. So yeah, I came into the boat ramp, and they just couldn't see us come in. There was only me and 2 kids, and of course the 2 kids were sitting either side on the tubes, and they completely blocked the navigation lights. The laws here are the navigation lights not to be obstructed by any structure in the boat, and also not to be confused with other deck lights, and that's only law. You can actually have people sitting in front of the navigation lights, so it makes you completely invisible to any other boats in the area. So yeah, I don't like where these are situated, and I'm going to have to work out some way of putting some navigation lights somewhere else on the boat which is more visible. My next complaint is the throttle control. To go forward, you press the throttle forward, and to go in reverse, you pull it backwards. There's also a button which you're supposed to use with your thumb to raise the outboard. This is so when you're coming into a beach, you can actually raise your outboard and lift your prop off the sand so that you can get in as close as possible as you can from the beach. The knob that you're supposed to do to tilt the outboard you should use with your thumb. So your thumb is on the inside controlling the outboard tilt, and this controls the forward and reverse. But however, it's back to front, it's on the outside. So in order to do your tilt, you've got to let go of your handle and then work your tilt from here, which is not very good. And I've seen another rib being featured on YouTube, and in fact the handle was around the wrong way with that as well. So it could be basically a fault of the outboard manufacturers not making a handle that is reversible. So I'm going to take this apart myself and just see if I can reverse the handle around the other way. And I just said reverse the handle around the other way. Well, of course, if you do reverse the handle, it will be around the other way, won't it? But never mind. Another problem with the Highfield boat is the fact that, as I said, it's designed to actually go onto a beach and off a beach from a yacht, as well as other things. But one of the main functions is so you can go to an island. When you're leaving the island, you push the boat out so that the prop is off the sand at the bottom, and it's probably about the same height as that prop is now from the sand. I'm not sure if it's in shot, but never mind. Highfield do not provide a means of boarding the boat from the rear. There's no rear step. Other manufacturers do. I think Briggs, they bring the hull out past the transom, this part here, and you can actually use the back end of the hull to actually step onto the inside of the boat. I've actually made a step up myself, which I'm going to put onto the boat, but haven't installed it as yet. But there's another type of boat I've seen too that actually makes a step on the back of the tubes. I doubt very much whether that would be effective, because it's too high for you to step onto anyway. If you can step onto that step, you can step over the back of the boat without using a step. So yeah, be very wary, what I would anyway, of any step which is on the back end of your tubes. You need a step down there where the hull is. Staying on the rear end, or the stern of the boat as it's supposed to be called. One thing that does annoy me, and I don't even remember having a problem with this on other boats that I've owned, but the drain hole at the back of the boat, where when you wash your boat out, it's just over 22 millimeters above the bottom of the hull. So you're always left with a bit of water or sand in the back of the boat. You can't flush it out completely. I don't know if this is common with ribs, but I haven't had a problem with other boats in being able to flush it out. This is the anchor light, and also serves as the rear white light. Unfortunately, when you tilt the outboard, it fouls it, and it's actually bent this, so it's not working properly now. So that's one thing they need to do is move the anchor light so that it doesn't fail the outboard doesn't fail it. But if I tilt the outboard, it will come up and hit the anchor light. I didn't realise I was out at night time, and it wasn't until I got home I think, oh, I'll take the anchor light out, and found I couldn't pull it out because the outboard was jammed against it. So another thing they need to look at. Well, there we have it. An honest and practical review on the Highfield 380 Classic Deluxe. Overall, it's a good boat. It's just these little niggly things that you don't realise till after you bought the boat, but you're reminded of every time you take the boat out, every time you go to launch the boat and it catches on the jetty. It's just things that are real niggling every time you take the boat out. But apart from that, it performs well. It's a good boat for fishing and diving, and whether you buy one, that's basically up to you. But I hope you enjoyed the review, and I hope it helps you make a choice as to what type of boat you buy. I'll catch you later on.